For those who have said, why can't Prince Harry handle things privately? My family, from this memoir spare, you will be able to learn and understand that Harry did everything in his power to handle things privately. However, the farm, just as Harry said, never ever stopped leaking stories, planting stories about both Harry and Meghan to the UK media, mostly negative stories. And my family, Prince Harry speaks about, courtiers. My family. And I want to share with you what Harry said about these evil courtiers within the palace. It's clear all of them were working together. From William, Charles, and courtiers were working together to take down Harry, to destroy Prince Harry's reputation. That is what they were doing, my family. It is so cruel what they did to both Harry and Meghan, my family. The more you read, the more you understand that Harry truly, he tried everything. Please, just hear this kindly. And I quote Harry's memoir spare. I'd spent my life with courtiers, scores of them. But now I dealt mostly with just 3. All middle-aged white men who'd managed to consolidate power through a series of bold Machiavellian maneuvers. They had normal names, exceedingly British names, but they sort more easily into zoological categories: the bee, the fly, and the wasp. The bee was oval-faced and fuzzy and tended to glide around with great equanimity and poise, as if he was a boon to all living things. He was so poised that people did not fear him. Big mistake. Sometimes their last mistake. The fly had spent so much of his career adjacent to, and indeed drawn to, shit. The awful of government and media, the wormy entrails, he loved it. Grew fat on it, rubbed his hands in glee over it, though he pretended otherwise. He strove to give off an air of casualness, of being above the fray, coolly efficient and ever helpful. The Wasp was lanky, charming, arrogant, a ball of jazzy energy. He was great at pretending to be polite, even servile. You'd assert a fact, something seemingly incontrovertible. I believe the sun rises in the mornings, and it's stammer that perchance you might consider for a moment the possibility that you've been misinformed. Well, I don't know about that, Your Royal Highness. You see, it all depends what you mean by morning, sir. Because he seemed so witty, so self-effacing, you might be tempted to push back. Insist on your point, and that was when he put you on his list. A short time later, without warning, he'd give you such a stab with his outsized stinger that you'd cry out in confusion. Where the F word did that come from? I disliked these men, and they did not have any use for me. They considered me irrelevant at best, stupid at worst. Above all, they knew how I saw them, as usurpers. Deep down, I feared that each man felt himself to be the one true monarch, that each was taking advantage of a queen in her 90s, enjoying his influential position while merely appearing to serve. I'd come to this conclusion through cold, hard experience. For instance, Meg and I consulted with the Wasp about the press, and he'd agreed that the situation was abominable, that it needed to be stopped before someone got hurt. Yes, you get no argument from us on that. He suggested the palace convene a summit of all the major editors. Make our case to them. Finally, I say to Meg, someone gets it. We never heard from him again. So I was skeptical. When Granny offered to send us the bee. But I told myself to keep an open mind. Maybe this time would be different, because this time Granny was dispatching him personally. Days later, Meg and I welcomed the bee into Frogmore, made him comfortable in our new sitting room, offered him a glass of rose, gave a detailed presentation. He took meticulous notes, frequently putting a hand over his mouth and shaking his head. He'd seen the headlines, he said, but he'd not appreciated the full impact this might have on a young couple. This deluge of hate and lies was unprecedented in British history, he said, disproportionate to anything I've ever seen. Thank you, we said. Thank you for seeing it. He promised to discuss the matter with all the necessary parties and get back to us soon with an action plan, a set of concrete solutions. We never heard from him again. My family. When I see this, my family, I just see even more about the lengths that Harry went to keep his wife safe, my family. For those who were asking questions, where was Harry? What was he doing, my family? This was what he was doing. Speaking to people he knew were powerful enough to make it stop, to make the abuse, the smear campaign against his wife Meghan stop, to stop this hate campaign. He spoke to them, but guess what? They never answered back to Harry. Why is that? Because they were behind it. They and senior members of the royal family were behind the hate campaign that Harry and Meghan faced, and they did not care what they were doing. was harmful to Harry and Meghan. When Harry and Meghan spoke to them about it, they said, yes, it's harmful. We see it. We see it. But guess what? They never did anything about it. Why is that? Who did the smear campaign benefit? It benefited William, Kate, Charles, and Camilla. So my family, it's clear why Courtiers would not want to help the spare Prince Harry. Please hear this once again. Things had gotten so out of hand. 72 women in parliament from both main parties had condemned the colonial undertones of all newspaper coverage of the Duchess of Sussex. None of these things had merited one comment, public or private, from my family. I knew how they rationalized it all, saying it was no different from what Camilla got or Kate, but it was different. One study looked closely at 400 vile tweets about Meg, employing a team of data specialists and computer analysis. The study found that this avalanche of hate was widely atypical, light years from anything directed at Camilla or Kate. A tweet that racially abused Meghan Markle. Harry mentioned, the tweet, but I won't mention what, was said about Meghan Markle. It's basically the same thing that Danny Baker said about Meghan. About Meghan and Harry's son, Archie. My family, they saw the racism. Yes, Harry and Meghan, they saw the racism. They saw it. And imagine how they felt. For those who say that, what racism, it's clear, in Harry's spare memoir, it's clear that yes, Meghan saw the racism, that yes, Harry saw the racism directed at his wife Meghan. My family, he saw it, and imagine how they felt. Pain, anguish, sadness. And Prince Harry, our husband, was doing everything he could to keep his wife safe. Truly, I can see the lengths he went to. Truly, I can see it. Now, a tweet that racially abused Meghan had no historical precedent or even equivalent, my family. And this was not about hurt feelings or bruised egos. Hate had physical effects. There was a ton of science showing how unhealthy it is to be publicly hated and mocked. Meanwhile, the wider societal effects were even scarier. Certain kinds of people are more susceptible to such hate and incited by it. Hence the package of suspicious white powder that had been sent to our office with a disgusting racist note attached. My family, I don't see any UK tabloid media outlet ever talking about this part of Harry's memoir spare. No one is talking about this, my family. And why is that? Why is that? Because by talking about this, they'll have to admit the part the press played, the tabloid itself played in this racial abuse that Meghan endured and faced online. even on print itself. By talking about this part of Harry's memoir and talking about this genuinely, they'll have to admit, the tabloids will have to admit the role, the part they played in inciting racism and putting Meghan Markle's life in danger. Because that is exactly what had happened. This is not a game. This is Harry and Meghan's life. This is their son's life. This is their daughter's life. And the fact is, the tabloid media, the firm, put Harry and Meghan's lives and their children's lives in danger. That is what happened, my family. But you won't see anyone talking about this part of Harry's memoir spare. What? Because it doesn't fit the narrative against Harry and Meghan. It doesn't fit the narrative of the press against Harry and Meghan to read and talk about this part of Harry's memoir spare. My family, I am saddened really to learn even more about this disgusting racist note that was attached, the white powder sent to Prince Harry and Meghan's office, my family. And yet, despite, I'm sure the media, tabloids, must have known about this. They must have known what was happening. They must have known of this racist note attached, but they did not care. As a matter of fact, I bet they were happy that their hate campaign was working. You know? My family, it just makes me sad to even read this and understand just what Harry and Meghan were going through. This is much worse than anyone could possibly even fathom or imagine. My family, Prince Harry, in his memoir says this, that, and I quote once again, I looked at Granny, looked around the room, reminded them that Meg and I had been coping with a wholly unique situation and doing it all by ourselves. Our dedicated staff was too small, too young, and grossly underfunded. The bee and the wasp harumphed, and we said we should have let it be known that we were under-resourced. My family, because the Queen was there, they wanted, to defend themselves, to protect themselves, to protect their stature as being senior courtiers. They wanted to look good in front of the monarch. And then they said, hey, look, you should have told us you were under-resourced. Well, guess what? They did know that Harry and Meghan were under-resourced. They did know, but they did not care. That is how they wanted it to be like. To ensure that Harry and Meghan could not even defend themselves. And then Prince Harry responded, let it be known, let it be known. I said, I begged them repeatedly, all of them. And one of our top ADs had sent in pleas as well, multiple times. Granny looked directly at the bee and the wasp. Is this true? The bee looked her right in the eye, and with the wasp nodding vigorously in assent said, Your Majesty, we never received any of these requests for support. As they looked the Queen in her eye. My family, if you ever wonder exactly who are in charge in the royal family, these liars that Harry is talking about, the bee, the wasp, my family, and the fly, these liars are the senior courtiers in charge. And it's clear they were lying to the queen right as Harry stood there. Lying to her. Right then, right there. They were taking advantage of the old, late queen. That is what they were doing. To preserve their stature in the palace. That is what was basically happening, my family. Now, my family, they lied to Her Majesty. Right then, right there. You know? That is what they were doing, my family. Please hear this, as well, my family. Because this is also another part of Harry's memoir, Spare, talking about the Sandringham Summit, when they were fed up and they wanted to leave. Now Harry said this, that I offered to defray the cost of security out of my own pocket. I wasn't sure how I'd do that, but I'd find a way. I made one last speech. Look, please, Meg and I don't care about perks. We care about working, serving, and staying alive. This seemed simple and persuasive. All the heads around the table went up and down. As the meeting came to a close, there was a basic general agreement. The many fine, granular details of this hybrid arrangement would be sorted out over a 12-month transitional period, during which we'd continue to have security. Granny rose, we all rose, she walked out. For me, there was one more piece of unfinished business. I went off to find the office of the bee. Luckily, I ran into the Queen's friendliest page, who'd always liked me. I asked for directions. He said he'd take me himself. He led me through the kitchen, up some back stairs, down a narrow corridor. Just that way, he said, pointing. A few steps later, I came upon a huge printer. Churning out documents, the bee's assistant swung into view. Hello, I pointed at the printer and said, this seems to be working fine. Yes, Your Royal Highness. Not broken, that thing. It's indestructible, sir. I asked about the printer in the bee's office. That one works too? Oh, yes, sir. Did you need to print something out? No, thank you. I went further, down the corridor, through a door. Everything suddenly looked familiar. Then I remembered this was the corridor where I'd slept that Christmas after returning from the South Pole. And now along came the bee. Head on. He saw me and looked extremely sheepish for a bee. He could tell what I was up to. He had the printer wiring away. He knew he was busted. Oh, sir, please, sir, don't worry about that. It's really not important, isn't it? He then said, my family, he then said that. And my family, it's clear who these courtiers are. They are just a bunch of liars, you know? And Prince Harry talking about how he was acting sheepishly, you know? Because initially, he had said the printer wasn't really working. And Harry went there to check. And he confirmed, once again, he was lying. My family, We have heard from Harry's court case that one of the courtiers whom Harry had a problem with was Sir Edward Young, the private secretary to the Queen of England, my family. And my family, I believe that he is one of the people that Harry is talking about, although Harry has not mentioned them by name. To me, it seems that he is one of the people that, Prince Harry was talking about. My family. I believe that, 100%. This person, Edward Young, was involved in ensuring that Harry's security was, cut off. My family. Now, please just hear this part as well. This appears to have happened during the Sandringham Summit. And I quote from William, "I'm now being accused of bullying you and Meg out of the family. I wanted to say we had nothing to do with that story. But imagine how you might feel if we had leaked it. Then you'll know how Meg and I have felt the last 3 years." Prince Harry told, Prince Harry thought about that, my family. When William said that, "I'm now being accused of pulling you and Meg out of the family." Now, during Sandringham Summit, the private secretaries began to address Granny about the 5 options. "Your Majesty, you've seen the 5 options." "Yes," she said. "We all had. They'd been emailed to us. 5 different ways of proceeding. Option 1 was continuance of the status quo. Meg and I don't leave. Everyone tries to go back to normal. Option 5 was full severance. No royal role, no working for Granny, and total loss of security. Option 3 was somewhere in between, a compromise, closest to what we'd originally planned, proposed. I told everyone assembled that, above all, I was desperate to keep security. That was what worried me the most, my family's physical safety. I wanted to prevent a repeat of history, another untimely death like the one that had rocked this family to its core 23 years earlier, and from which we were still trying to recover. I consulted with several palace veterans, people who knew the inner workings of the monarchy and its history, and they all said option 3 was best for all parties. Meg and I living elsewhere part of the year, continuing our work and keeping security, and returning to the UK for charities, ceremonies, events. What a sensible solution, this palace veteran said, and eminently doable. But the family, of course, pushed me to take option 1, barring that they would only accept option 5, meaning Charles and William. My family, we discussed the 5 options for nearly an hour. At least the bee got up and went around the table, handing out a draft of a statement the palace would soon be releasing, announcing the implementation of option 5. Wait, I'm confused. You've already drafted a statement before any discussion announcing option 5? In other words, the fix was in. This whole time, this summit was just for show? No answer. I asked if there were drafts of other statements, announcing the other options. Oh yes, of course, they be assured me. Can I see them? Alas, his printer had gone on the blink. He said, the odds, at the very moment he was about to print out those other drafts. I started laughing. Is this some kind of joke? My family, from that excerpt, what are you learning? What do you learn from that excerpt that I just shared with all of you? You are learning that Harry was set up to fail from the very, very start, that clearly he had no chance. No chance at all. William, Charles had already come to a decision. He was out and he would lose security. They had already decided that. My family. That was basically, what they had already said was going to happen, my family. And my family, I just have to say this, that reading this memoir, you see really, my family, that Harry tried so hard. He tried so hard. He tried everything possible. But clearly, the only thing they were interested in was the bullying of Harry and Meghan, the destruction of their reputation, my family. That is what they were mostly interested in, my family. And to see that they were so quick to want to strip Harry off of his security, it tells you, my family, that you start to ask questions. Did Diana truly just, was it just an accident, really? From what we are seeing, because they told us Diana rejected protection. And now we have his son, who faces many threats, being denied security. It's just horrible. Just disgusting what they did to Harry. Just disgusting. My family. Please hear this part when they lost security. My family. Just to tell you of the torture they put Meghan and Harry through. For you to understand this torture. Hear this, please. Meg asked me one night, you don't think they'd ever pull our security, do you? You don't think they'd ever pull our security, do you, Harry? Never. Not in this climate of hate. And not after what happened to my mother. At least, that is what Harry thought. My family. And Harry and Meghan faced a climate of hate. When they tell you they fled the UK, they fled the UK, my family. This is what they fled from. A climate of hate. The tabloids and the firm had created around them. Meg, worried at night, asks Harry, you don't think they'd pull our security, do you, Harry? Never. Not in this climate of hate. And then Harry also said this to comfort Meghan. Also, not in the wake of my uncle Andrew. He was embroiled in a shameful scandal, accused of the sexual assault of a young woman, and no one had so much as suggested that he lose his security. Whatever grievances people had against us, sex crimes weren't on the list. I like that part. And then February 2020, I scooped Archie from his nap and took him out to the lawn. It was sunny, cold, and we gazed at the water, touched the dry leaves, collected rocks and twigs. I kissed his chubby little cheeks, tickled him, then glanced down at my phone to see a text from the head of our security team, Lloyd. He needed to see me. I carried Archie across the garden and handed him to Meg, then went across the soggy grass to the cottage where Lloyd and the other bodyguards were staying. We sat on a bench, both of us wearing puffer jackets, waves rolling gently in the background. Lloyd told me that our security was being pulled. He and the whole team had been ordered to evacuate. Surely they can't. I would tend to agree, but they are. So much for the year of transition. The threat level to us, Lloyd said, was still higher than for that of nearly every other royal, equal to that assigned the Queen. And yet the word had come down, and there was to be no arguing. You are to leave from where Harry and Meghan are, security was told my family, as they were stripping Harry and Meghan off of security. So here we are, I said. The ultimate nightmare. The worst of all worst case scenarios. Any bad actor in the world would not be able to find us, and it would just be me with a pistol to stop them. Oh wait, no pistol. I'm in Canada. Then Harry did what a son would do. Harry then rang Pa. Harry then rang his father to ask for help, to ask for assistance, because he knew if he said something, if he told them to stay, if he made the order, if he gave the order for security to stay, for Harry and Meghan's security to stay, they would have stayed. But guess what? Like the failed father that Charles is, he would not take Harry's phone call. Of course, he knew why Harry was calling. Why would he? Not know. He knew, because he knew they were taking security away from Harry. Then, just then, while he was calling Pa, just right then, while Harry was calling Pa, his father, and that Charles would not take his phone calls. Just then, at that moment, Harry got a text from Willie. Can you speak? Great. I was sure my older brother, after a recent walk in the Sandringham Gardens, would be sympathetic. That he stepped up, because he knew only two people could help him, could correct what was being done, could ensure that he keeps security. That is Charles and William. They had the power as the heirs to the throne to do that. But guess what? William told Harry it was a government decision. Nothing to be done. What a bunch of lies, my family. What a bunch of lies, my family. And then, the location where Harry and Meghan were staying was leaked to the press. My family, this tells you what Harry went through was a lot of pain, my family, a lot of pain. You can't tell me that they did not try. They tried everything. They tried everything. They begged, they pleaded. They begged so many times, my family. So many times. And it's clear that William, at that time, who wants to bet that at that time that he was calling Charles and Charles would not take his phone call, William was right there with Charles as they were taking security away from Harry. Who wants to bet? Now what are the odds that Harry is calling Charles because, they are losing the security, and then William then texts Harry? My family, what are the odds? What are the odds, really? What are the odds? They all were conspiring together to do this, to cause harm to Harry and Meghan. My family, it was so bad what they were doing. So bad, my family. So bad. And this whole scenario tells you about the lengths that Harry went to to try and reach a solution. He went through every single length. You can't say no to that. He went through everything to try and ask for help. To Charles, to William, to everybody, my family, I could think of. And they refused to help. Thank God Tyler Perry came to Harry and Meghan's aid. My family, thank God. You know, thank God that Tyler Perry came to Harry and Meghan's aid. My family, I want your opinion on this kindly, my family. I want your opinion on what has happened right now. I want your opinion on this kindly, please. Please tell me what you think about this kindly. My family, someone called Kay said that this article titled Ravik Revealed Membership of Committee in Charge of Harry and Meghan's Protective Security is made public. You know? And the names there that are Sir Clive Alderton, the King's private secretary. You know? You have Edward Young, who was the Queen's private secretary, my family. And you have another one called Chris Fitzgerald, the King's deputy private secretary. My family. These people, you know, are the ones you must, you know, come to understand who are very, very close to the royal family. Truly very close to the royal family. And this could be the people who Harry is indeed talking about. My family, one thing is for sure, they made Harry and Meghan's lives hell in the UK. And Harry and Meghan made the right decision to leave. I'm glad that Harry, you know, stuck to what he said he was going to do. Protect his wife and kids. And that is what he did. He protected his wife. He kept his wife and son safe. And then Tyler Perry stepped in and helped them out. And I thank Tyler Perry for what he did for both Harry and Meghan. My family, they have been through it all. And their love has faced so many, many headwinds, my family. In light of this, even what I've read you. My family, you have seen, despite the threats, what has Meghan done? Meghan has stood by her husband's side. That is true love, my family. That is true love. And I admire that about, you know, Harry and Meghan's love story. They have been through it all, in good times, in bad times. They have been together. I mean, who else will stick by your side in the way Meghan has stuck by Harry's side? In good times and in bad times, in horrifying, dangerous situations, my family. As Tyler Perry said, they had been abused. My family. Now I just want your opinion, my family, on what you think about this I just read out to all of you. Clearly, they just wanted, you know, Harry and Meghan gone. But if someone leaves, why not stop leaking, planting stories against them? Why? Because the palace never stopped. My family, they never ever stopped going after Harry and Meghan. You know? My family, they thought that Harry would come back alone without his wife and kids. Well, they were wrong. Harry is not like Charles. Harry is a good man and has his late mom's heart. And may God bless him, my family. They have been through it all and they are stuck by each other's side. That is Harry and Meghan. A true love story. You know, what could break any couple only brought them together and made them stronger as a couple. And now look at them. They are thriving. Every single one of their projects successful. Spare memoir, everything successful. And this record from Harry himself, it's important that he gave a record, an account of exactly what had happened. So things are not twisted. So history is not, rewritten. Because one thing the farm is good at, it's rewriting history. Don't let them rewrite what they did to Harry and Meghan. And that's why it's important, because this pair is a matter of a historical record, a documentary, even, a memoir, my family, of exactly what happened to Harry and Meghan, an account of the pain they experienced, my family. It's important, that Harry wrote this story in his own words, my family. Please, the palace was also cruel to Harry and Meghan, and I'm glad that, they escaped from them. My family, I am also happy that they're talking, that the victims of abuse, Harry and Meghan, are talking. Love this so much, my family. Now, what do you think about this kindly? Please stay tuned to our next video. Love you always and forever. This was not a government decision. Ravik had all 3 royal family private secretaries calling the shots. And they all decided that Harry does not keep his security. They all decided that, my family, in following William and Charles' order, because they would never have done that also without William and Charles' consent. William is such a proven liar. And I'm glad that Harry has shown him, the world, who he truly is, the true face of William as someone who's abusive. My family, they have been through it all, my family. I just can't really even say more than this. They have been through it all, and no one deserves to have gone through what Harry and Meghan have gone through. Kindly stay tuned to our next video. Love you always and forever. May God heal Harry and Meghan from the trauma that they faced at the hands of the bee, the fly, the wasp, and William, Charles, and the tabloid press, and haters online, and people who sent death threats towards them that scared both Harry and Meghan. May God heal them from that trauma. Kindly stay tuned to our next video. Love you always and forever. Hello, members of Zesco Family TV. First of all, I want to say thank you for all your support that you give us to our channel. We don't take it for granted that you support this channel. I want to say thank you from the bottom of our hearts for lending out your support and fighting against injustices, supporting Prince Harry and Meghan, showing them love. Love will always triumph over evil, and for that I say thank you. Good will always prevail over bad. Thank you so much for all your support. Thank you so much for joining this community, this amazing community of Zesco Family TV. I love you so much, family, from the bottom of my heart, and I wish you all the best. May you have a great day, and I hope that you enjoyed this video and learned a lot of things. With that and so much more, stay tuned to our next video. Leave a comment below, like, and subscribe. Love you, family, always and forever. Sayonara.